Hey, what's going on everyone? Minato Max here, and today we're talking about a Nintendo Switch game that I think many of us originally thought that this game would never come to the Switch for multiple reasons. That game that we're talking about today is NieR Automata. Now, it's very interesting. When this game got released back in, I believe it was 2017, the immediate thing that everybody was asking for, hey, put this on the Switch, put this on the Switch. At the time of this game's release, it was only a PlayStation game, and then it later came over to the Xbox, and then here we are into 2022, got the announcement that NieR Automata was coming to the Nintendo Switch, and I think it shocked everyone because when the trailer came out, it surprisingly looked really good. It was quite groundbreaking, to be honest, with how well this game was looking, with the footage that people provided over at Square Enix. The footage that we saw, it was unbelievable. Now, I am going to talk about my thoughts on the game, but I feel like that most people that are clicking on this video want to know how I feel about the Nintendo Switch version of the game. How does it work for a port? All that good stuff. So we're going to get into the port details of NieR Automata first, and then we will get our thoughts on the actual game later in this review. Now, I do want to address one thing right away. I am about 3 to 4 hours into the game. I did not have a chance to actually beat the game, and this was a video that I really wanted to make, but by the time I beat this game, the topic was going to be pretty dead. So I wanted to go through and do this review still, because I feel, again, that the most of the interest with this game is how does it run on Switch, my thoughts on the Switch version, because if you look at my channel, I have done so many top 10 third-party Switch port games videos that I think people would be interested to see what's my thoughts on this port. So let's get right into it. I want to talk about the resolution of this game. Doing research onto NieR Automata, I found out that for whatever reason, NieR Automata was stuck at 900p on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I don't know how they managed to do it for the Nintendo Switch, but somehow it is 1080p docked. I don't know how they've done it. I straight up don't know how they've done NieR Automata on the Switch to have a better resolution than the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, consoles that are weaker than the Nintendo Switch. They managed to make it resolution look perfect, and I was very surprised by that. And then the next thing I want to talk about, the frame rate. Frame rate runs amazing. It's locked at 30. I've read on some research on this game that people are saying that sometimes the game drops. I have not seen the game drop for me personally yet, so I'm sure later down the road those frame rate drops will happen, but these frame rate drops happened on the other consoles, so I don't think it's something to go cry about. Especially considering how well this game runs and the resolution, considering the amount of crazy stuff that happens early within NieR Automata. The fact that I didn't see any of that yet, I'm not concerned about frame rate drops one bit. Which, talking about those two things, resolution and frame rate, leads me to my next thing that I wanted to talk about. Normally when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, it can do one of the two things great at. Either a good resolution or a good frame rate. We've seen games like Mortal Kombat 11 sacrifice its graphic abilities to run at 60 FPS on the Nintendo Switch. We've seen games like Witcher 3 sacrifice how well it looks to get somewhat a good frame rate on Nintendo Switch. We've seen all these games sacrifice certain things, whether that's graphics or frame rate issues, to have a good running game onto the Nintendo Switch. It's groundbreaking to say that a game like this manages to do both perfect. I felt like Dying Light was probably our best Nintendo Switch port yet, and it's still one of the best Nintendo Switch ports out there. But after playing NieR Automata, I have to say, with everything that the game has to offer in terms of resolution, frame rate, graphics of the game graphically, it's up there that you could compare it to last gen consoles. Like, I mean, if you compare it, Switch, PlayStation, Xbox all at once, there is not much of a difference. Obviously, PlayStation and Xbox is going to win, but this is one of those games where you can actually say not much of a difference, and I think that's a first for a game like NieR Automata for the Nintendo Switch. It's amazing to me, considering how many third-party games I've played, because I've played them all. I've played Doom, Witcher, Mortal Kombat, Dying Light. I even played Outer Worlds, where people say that that's the worst Nintendo Switch port. BioShock, any type of big game that came to the Switch in terms of a third-party port, I bought it to play it. because I'm interested in talking about these things. And I can safely say this tops them all just because it accomplishes those two things all into one game, which has not been done many times. One other thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the Switch version of this game that I am very surprised, and I'm saying like super surprised, is this game is only $40 on Nintendo Switch. Now I know all you guys are gonna be pointing out, but Max, it's $40 or it's $10 on the other platforms. I know that you all are gonna say that the game is cheaper on other platforms, but the reason why I bring up price point right now is because if you look at these Nintendo Switch ports, they launch at $60. We have Persona 5 Royale about to come out on Nintendo Switch, and it's $60. I think Dying Light launched at $60. It was either $50 or $60. Witcher 3, when it came out on Nintendo Switch, was a $60 game. Doom was $60. Outer Worlds was $60. All these games launched at $60. And with the amount of work that they put into a game like this onto Nintendo Switch, because I can already tell that they put a few years of development of putting NieR Automata onto the Nintendo Switch, that they could have easily got away with putting $60 as a price tag, and I think many people still would have bought it considering it has all the DLC. By the way guys, this all fits in one cartridge. Again, I don't know how Square Enix managed to do it, but they put NieR Automata and all of its content all onto one cartridge. No additional downloads is required unless you want to update the game, of course, which is another thing that has been done on the Nintendo Switch, but it's one of those things that's not done often. It's so weird to me to see this game coming to the Nintendo Switch the same year as Persona 5 Royale. I feel like this year has been one of Nintendo's greatest years, from a first party lineup to a third party lineup also, because we are getting all the third party games that people have actually been requesting since 2017. NieR Automata, Persona 5 Royale, Life is Strange, the list goes on and on with all the recent Nintendo Switch games that the system has been getting from a third party perspective. It's been quite incredible to say that we are starting to get everything that we asked for, and it's surprising. So from everything that we talked about from the Switch port side of things, it graphically looks amazing, runs amazing, resolution is amazing. By the way, I don't even think we touched on this, the game is 720p on handheld. 720p. I don't even think Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal was like that on the Switch. I might be wrong about that, but I know very few third-party games did 720p in handheld. Very few third-party games did 1080p 720, like 1080 docked 720 Nintendo Switch handheld. Like, absolutely crazy, which that 720p with the OLED looks absolutely amazing to this already amazing looking game on Nintendo Switch. It's very surprising. I hope whoever did this port, I couldn't find who did the port, if it was Square Enix directly that did this. They need to actually look into just making a Switch port company to actually port all these other games onto Nintendo Switch, because the port is so great. This is genuinely the best Nintendo Switch port out, by far, easily. Best one, like, hands down best one. So before we get into talking about my thoughts on the game, but like from a story point, gameplay perspective, I want to do two separate review scores, one being a Nintendo Switch port review, me talking about the game later on. I'm not going to actually give a review of the game, I'm just going to give like impressions of my game towards the later half of this video. But my actual scoring from this game, from a port portion, from the port, because I haven't beaten the game, but from a Nintendo Switch port perspective, how everything that we talked about, this is a 10 out of 10. This is the best Nintendo Switch port. I don't know how much better we can get in terms of Switch ports. I thought we were at our limit with Switch ports in terms of how great they can get. But yeah, they've crushed it. Square Enix needs to either buy this company, or this company that did this Switch port needs to make other games, because this is it. This is it. This is amazing. I think actually my editor texted me when he bought this game, "Wow, Max, this looks amazing on Nintendo Switch." It's hard for him to give compliments to a Nintendo Switch port, so they're doing something here. So now let's talk about the game. First off, I should have realized this, but I didn't realize Platinum Games did this. It makes a lot more sense that they did this game. But I never realized that till I started playing the game. The gameplay, the game's storyline, I'm automatically interested in this game. The voice acting in this game also has me glued to the game. I don't know how Square Enix does it, but anytime they do a game that has voice acting, I've noticed, at least more recent games, like Life is Strange, Final Fantasy VII Remake, NieR Automata, I have been glued to that game because of its voice act. The game's gameplay is fun because I played games like this as a kid in some form. This is gonna be a weird comparison, but I was a Nickelodeon kid. I love the Nick games on my PlayStation 2. Those games, I like to compare the Nick games that I played to NieR Automata's gameplay style. It's like a more adult version, a more harder version of the game. And it gives me flashbacks to playing those games. So playing games like NieR Automata, Devil May Cry 3, or Devil May Cry 3, yeah, that is the one I'm playing, No More Heroes, it gives me flashbacks to those games that I played as a kid. So I'm loving playing this game for that very reason. And this game throws so much bullcrap at you that I have actually rage quitted before, because you could be thinking that you're like, oh yes, I finally beat this level. They throw so many enemies at you at once and you're like, really? That just happened? And I'm only 4 hours in and I know the game gets way more difficult, so just know I am already frustrated with this game and I can't wait to play more. I feel like there's not much more that I can say other than I'm really enjoying this game from a perspective of all that good stuff that we just talked about. It's a great Switch port. It's a great game just in general. The only issues that I have with the game, and I guess this would go with the Switch version, they automatically have motion controls on, and I was thinking that my controller actually was breaking till I realized motion controls were on. Don't know why they decided of all games to have motion controls, that NieR Automata needs to have motion controls. But if you're playing the game and thinking that your controllers are messed up, check the settings because motion controls are automatic. Overall though, very fun game. Very much enjoying it. Can't wait to get back into the universe of NieR Automata. So glad that Square Enix has put this game onto Nintendo Switch, because it's one of those that everybody wanted, and I can't wait to see what other games is planned for the Switch, because Square's killed it this year. You got Life is Strange True Colors, which is a great port. Life is Strange Remastered. We'll talk about that in a future video. And then you got NieR Automata. Both great games. So happy they're on the Switch. The sick box art, and I can't believe it's $40. But I have been talking for too much. I want to know what you guys think. Did you pick up NieR Automata? And if you did, what is your thoughts on the Switch version of the game? I would also like to hear from people that's already played the game on other platforms. If you ended up picking it up, and comparison, which do you like playing more? Switch, PlayStation, PC, Xbox? Make sure to check out our Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all that good stuff, which is in the description below. Content has been a little bit slower this month because, again, we have been focusing on the Halloween special that is coming out Halloween. We are about halfway done filming it. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Honestly, if everything works out the way that I envision, this is going to be the best video that I ever put out. Ever. Until I put out the next big special. So I can't wait to see what you guys think of that. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.